The college basketball experience, Western Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the WAC, or also known as the Wacky WAC edition of the 24-25 season preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience. Wacky WAC edition, baby. We lied to you guys last night. We have 2 left. So coming up, doubleheader over here at the college basketball experience. League number 30, league number 31, the WAC first, followed by the Atlantic 10. But hey, man, let's talk some WAC action here. Some conference realignment impacting this league. We're going to rank all 9 teams. So it's a smaller league now, and they have a heavy favorite. We'll break down each and every team. We'll give out our sleeper. We'll give out our bus, regular season champ, postseason champ, who's going dancing, who's going to be the player of the year, and all that good stuff. But first off, intros. I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight, over here at the college experience, baby. And joining me, let's talk a little wacky whack. Well, you guys know him as the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, cocktail napkin having, Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. What's up, man?
What's good, Mac? Yeah, the WAC accidentally slipped through, slipped by us a little bit there. I don't know. I honestly have no idea what had happened there, but take it as a compliment, WAC, because now you're in the feed along with like some of the other bigger mid-major leagues. And you do have a heavy hitter this year, and we can't wait to talk about it. And honestly, that was the reason why I remembered that we hadn't done this league. I was going through the cocktail napkin last night, getting ready for opening night. Over 100 games that I've got to look at a little bit. And I was like, shit, we don't have WAC rankings. So I texted Mac, and we're like, prep for 2 tonight too, with the WAC and the A10. So anyways, last year the WAC was pretty competitive, but again, Grand Canyon just kind of stood out from the rest. 30-5 overall last season, 17-3 in conference. They beat St. Mary's in round 1 as a 12 seed, knocking off the 5 seed St. Mary's, and then fell late to Alabama, who then went to the Final Four. Nothing to hang your head about, Lopes. And, they returned quite a bit from that team, Max. So it should be really fun. Last year as well, they had Tarleton State won 16-4 in conference, 25-10 overall. UT Arlington won 20 games. Seattle won 23 games. This conference is pretty good.
Yeah, and no, I think we thought we did the WAC because Stephen F. left. So they had been one of the more competitive teams in this league, but now they're over there in back in the Southland where they were before them, and the Mexicans from Rio Grande. So down from 11-9, you mentioned it. Tarleton, good program under Billy Gillespie. Utah Valley's been good. Abilene Christian's won an NCAA tournament game. Cal Baptist is invested in their program. UT Arlington, Seattle. So, yeah, this is turning into a nice, sneaky, really good basketball league. But it is headlined by they're not a blue blood yet because they need to probably do it a couple more years. But Grand Canyon has been a sleeping giant with the way that they've invested in this program in the downtown Phoenix area. Absolutely beautiful campus, beautiful arena. They sell that thing out. It's one of the most underrated home court advantages. It could be a mini Gonzaga. I think
there's no football team.
Exactly. I think they could turn into that down the road. That's the goal. They're a long ways away, but that's the vision for Grand Canyon.
Yeah, both basketball and baseball. They've invested a lot into both programs. They're really competitive in both. And, they're going to be a ton of fun to watch this season. They're expected to be really good. We can't wait to talk about it. But first, station identification. Can you guys please – we're like 20 subscribers away from 12K. That's our goal. We're looking to hit 12K right by opening tip. Sunday night, opening night show for us. And we'll be here every single night throughout the regular season, picking every game on the money line and against the spread here on the College Basketball Experience. Go give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. That helps the most. It spreads us out throughout their algorithm tremendously. You can also leave a like, rating, review, subscribe to any other podcast platform out there. We'll be extremely thankful. But like I said, subscribe on YouTube, leave a like on this video. We're like 20 away from 12K subscribers. And without further ado, Mac, let's jump into the WAC. Abilene Christian, the Wildcats, are up first for us here. Last year they were 16-18 overall, 10-10 in the conference, and they finished tied for 6th in the WAC last season. Abilene Christian loses Ali Abdu-Deba, who put up 15.5 points per game, 4.5 boards, 1 assist per game, 1.5 steals per game. They also lose Arion Simmons, who played 25 minutes a game, 12 points, 6.5 boards, 2 assists. Also Cameron Steele, Kavion McLean, JV Seat, Mood Demem Monkey hit the transfer portal, and then Emmanuel Allen and Aiden Gahan are out of eligibility. Coming back from last season, the main piece here is Hunter Jack Madden. Played 32.5 minutes last season. He's a 6'2 senior guard, averaged 12 points per game, 3 boards, 2 assists, over a steal per game, shot at 39% from deep. They also bring back big man Leonardo Bettiol, who's a 6'8 junior forward, 21.5 minutes last season, 10 points per game, 5 boards, shot at 56% from the field. Nazir DeGrui returns from last season, but he's going to play a much bigger role, might even step into the point guard role this season for Abilene Christian. So we'll see what we get from him. They bring in a couple of transfers, a handful of transfers for this season. Joseph Van Zant transfers in from Liberty, averaged 5 and 6 in 23 minutes as a 6'3 senior guard. He was a junior last year. This year is going to be a senior. Queon Williams transfers in from Oklahoma State. He's a 6'5 junior forward, played 28 minutes last season, 7.5 points per game, 5.5 boards, 2 assists per game, over a steal per game. Braden Hubbard comes in from Connors State, the 34th ranked junior college recruit via JUCOrecruiting.com in the transfer portal. 25 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Rich Smith transfers in from D2 St. Thomas Aquinas up here in my neck of the woods. Averaged 9 points and 6.5 boards with 5 assists per game, 1.5 steals. And Cade Hornecker, a 7-footer, redshirt sophomore. He didn't play last year for Southern Illinois. He comes into Abilene Christian for Brett Tanner's bunch. Mac, what are your thoughts on ACU this season?
Yeah, intriguing, just because I've always been a fan of this program. Of course, Golding winning the NCAA tournament game. Then Tanner steps right in, coming off that year. Entering his 4th year, year 1 they won 25. Then they took a little bit of a step back. Coming over to the WAC, they also came over with Stephen F. Austin. They Golden coach in the Southland compared to the WAC that Tanner's had to do, but they bring back a decent amount of production. I think they finished 6th last year. I think they're right smack dab in the middle. One thing you get with Abilene Christian, they're going to play hard. They're going to guard you. And they just have had an identity, I think, of being a well-coached team under Tanner. Can they get a little bit of consistency on the offensive end this year? They're kind of the WAC version of UTEP, to be honest, where his former boss went over. So I think if they can get a little bit more consistency on the offensive end from some of these newcomers, they could jump into the top 4, but I got them in the middle of the pack.
I think their UTEP diet. Benedict Dantold says that he did his WAC analysis today, and Abilene Christian has his worst roster. I will say that, just the style of ball that Abilene Christian wins or plays, they usually win those type of rock fights. That's usually where they want them. But Mac, so I dove into Brett Tanner a little bit. He had a 25-win season in year one at Abilene Christian, but that came with a lot of stability from Joe Golding's era at Abilene before he went to UTEP. These last 2 seasons resulted in just 13 and 16 wins respectively, and nothing close to as good as they were that first year on either side of the ball. The offense has finished 7th and 9th the offense has finished 7th and 9th respectively, and defensively 7th and 12th, which was last in the WAC. So I'm questioning some of the ceiling possibilities with Tanner at the helm this season. I could see them finishing around 500 in the league, but personally, I'm going to have them close to the bottom half in the WAC this season. Anything else you want to add on Abilene before we move on?
No, I agree with you. I have them right in the middle.
Alrighty. Shoot, just broke my pencil. Cal Baptist is up next for us today. Last season, 16 and 17 overall, 8 and 12 in conference. They finished 8th. They are going to be a relatively old team. Not a whole lot of returners from last year. You have Dominic Daniels Jr. and Brantley Stevenson in the backcourt. That's a nice positive. Daniels put up 19 points per game, 3 assists, 1.5 rebounds, shot at 36.5% from 3. He's a 5'10 senior point guard. And then Stevenson, a 6'4 senior guard, played 29 minutes a game last season, 8 points, 3 boards, 1.5 assists, shot at 34% from deep. Kendall Coleman also returns after playing 15 minutes. He averaged 6 and 6.5 in the front court, shot at 52% from the field in just 15 minutes. But the rest of this roster is going to be kind of how well, like the depth of this roster, I should say, is how well some of these transfer portal ads are going to adapt to the Lancers program under Rick Croy. Javante Johnson comes in from Colorado State. He only played 6 minutes last season. He's a 6'6 graduate senior wing. AJ Brown comes in from Wright State, averaged 12 and 6 last season, shot at 69% from the field in 25.5 minutes. He's a 6'9 senior forward. Sam Silverstein's a 6'6 junior wing transferring in from Harvard. He didn't play last season. So in 2022-23, he played 31.5 minutes for the Crimson, 7 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Adam Musa transfers in from Tarleton State in conference. He's a 6'3 senior guard, only played 15.5 minutes for the Texans last season. They also bring in the 26th ranked JUCO recruit in the transfer portal, Martell Williams from Utah State Eastern. 24.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3 assists per game. They also bring in Devon Malcolm from Yuba Junior College, 16 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists per contest. Mac, your thoughts on this Cal Baptist roster? I think there's a good core. I wouldn't put it up there with like one of the best cores in this conference, but a nice core to build around and a little bit of a grab bag of transfers.
I always feel like Cal Baptist is better than their record ends up being at the end of the year. I always watch them. They pass the eye test. And like you said, Croy entering his 12th year already under the helm. He's a Randy Bennett guy coming over from St. Mary's. Last year was his first losing season. So I usually like to back coaches that come off their first losing season in like a 10-year sample size. It seems like they got an extra chip on their shoulder. They got a good amount of production coming back, 45, 50% of their core. They are the oldest team in this league as well. I think they could crawl up into the top half. My concern is they've been in the middle every single year under Croy since entering the WAC Division I 6 years ago. They can't.
Nice.
They have
ceiling's limited, but it's been a nice floor. The ceiling's limited, but it's been a nice floor.
They're due is what I'm trying to say. I feel like they're better than where they've been. I feel like they're more competitive, and they have a good home court as well. Their fans are underrated at Cal Baptist. They're trying to slowly be like the new Grand Canyon.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say
I know somebody at Cal Baptist that they talk about Grand Canyon as their standard with the way that they
everybody's going to say that in this league.
No, I mean with the way that they set up their athletic department. They look at Grand Canyon, they think they can beat Grand Canyon, but to beat Grand Canyon, you gotta win the games.
Yes, they do. I would put their home court 5th in this league.
Who would you put above?
I think Grand Canyon's got a great home court. I think Utah Valley has a great home court.
Valley cares.
I think Seattle's got a great home court. Southern Utah is a tough place to play. And
I put Abilene I put Cal Baptist above Southern Utah.
And then Tarleton and Cal Baptist are right there.
Tarleton's interesting because they just got good with Billy Gillespie. So.
They're a pretty passionate fan base, but honestly, like I don't think they show up nearly as much for basketball as they do.
Yeah,
football. Sorry,
all those Utah schools care. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm like I'm willing to push back on this Cal Baptist love a little bit.
Cal Baptist has a winning year. You're going to see that place absolutely jumping. They just haven't been that good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have them hovering around 500 as well in this conference. Underdog Fantasy has one of the biggest pick 'em menus for all sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, and college basketball when the season tips off right around this weekend. Boost over is, almost over with Halloween right now because you've been getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and so much more, and you will continue to do. Underdog is great with all these profit boosts that they offer for free in their lobbies, and you can use those on all flex entries. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick, plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. All right, Mac, we're back here on the college basketball experience, previewing the WAC alphabetically in order. Teams alphabetically in the WAC. I'm trying to get my light situated here for the audio.
What jersey you got on? Just out of curiosity.
One of the Hanson brothers from the movie Slapshot.
I thought you had a fucking Pitt jersey on. I was like, take that shit off. Yeah, you can keep that on.
The movie's based in Pennsylvania.
It looks like a Pitt Panthers jersey from because it's right. It cuts off right at your shoulders. So yeah, I thought you had like a fucking Kenny Pickett jersey on or something. I was like, oh my god, get out of here,
Charleston Chiefs, baby.
I like it.
They're based off the Jamestown Chiefs, which are actually pretty close to the city of Pittsburgh. So either way, I kind of look like one of the characters, long hair, glasses, hockey player. So
it is Halloween. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm following. Well, right over my head. Right over my head why you were wearing that tonight. So yeah.
You want to know what also goes right over some people's heads? Grand Canyon. Really good program. And they're going to be once again pretty good this season. Last year, 30-5, 17-3 in conference. They won the league, swept it. Bryce Drew returns a terrific trio of big senior guards, starting off with Tyon Grant-Foster, who was the player of the year last season. He averaged 20 points, 6 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks per game. Shot at 33% from deep, 44.5% from the field.
They are loaded. I have them. I'm looking at my national rankings. They're easily inside my top 50. I mean, they, in terms of returning production, coming back, bringing back 60+%. They're old. They won 30+ games. They have the best home court. The question is this Bryce Drew's final year potentially at Grand Canyon?
It could be.
Yeah.
But
They
they're
may
also
stay
taking a
there,
jump
man.
up.
They may pay, man.
They're also they're taking a jump up the WCC, so that might
True.
entice them to stay.
Yep.
Benedict's saying knock out Grand Canyon in 5 seconds, they'll win the league, maybe drop 2 games in conference, first place running away. Well, that means that we should cover them more because they're going to be really good on the national scene. We should be backing this team in non-conference play. But yeah, so I was choking up during the Tyon Grant-Foster thing. He was player of the year last year, did everything, stuffed the stat sheet. Ray Harrison returns as the point guard after 4 dimes last season per game, 13.5 points. Colin Moore played 25 minutes per game last season, averaged 8, 3, and 2. Duke Brennan returns in the front court after averaging 7 and 7 in 23 minutes a game last season. And 6'8" Jacoby Coles transfers in from TCU, averaging 10 and 4 last season. He shot 42% from 3. I'm all thrown off my game right now, but he's expected to play a huge role this season. You know, Grand Canyon's never finished lower than 4th offensively under Bryce Drew in the WAC, and they've had the best offense back-to-back seasons. I would project them to finish number 1 again this season, as well as having the conference's best defense again, which they had finished 1st or 2nd defensively via KenPom 3 out of the 4 years that Bryce Drew has been at Grand Canyon. Mac, what's the ceiling like overall for Grand Canyon this season? How far do you think they could go in the NCAA tournament? How many games could they win?
Second weekend. I think so. I think with the returning production off that team last year, I kind of was just glancing at the schedule. Can they put themselves – I always we did this with McNeese when we previewed it, Noah. Can they put themselves in a position if they get upset in the conference tournament to still get an at-large bid? And I think – oh, man.
I don't know.
Their schedule's not that hard.
No, it's not a great schedule. I was looking at it earlier. You would need Stanford and Arizona State to surprise, which I think both of them are going to be basement teams in their respective leagues.
Yeah. What MTE are they playing Arizona? Or no, they're not playing the MTE against Arizona State. They're playing them at the Suns Arena. So Western Kentucky
that's just a one-off neutral site game. Same with the Georgia one, I believe.
So they're not playing in a preseason tournament?
No.
Or who? When did they play Stanford? Where are they playing Stanford at? They're playing Stanford in
Palm Springs,
California.
That's Feast Week, so that would be a tournament, I bet.
Okay, so who? The question is, who else is in that Palm? And whoever else is in that chat, look that up. Whoever else is in that event.
Either way, I'm not blown away by the schedule. I think Georgia and Louisiana Tech are going to be they also have St. Louis.
I think that they almost have to run the table in the non-con, Noah. I don't think that they can lose more than 2 games. Or I think if they had 3 losses by the conference tournament, they would have a chance to get in that large bid. But I don't think they can lose more than that.
They need a win against Georgia. They need a win against Louisiana Tech. They need a win against St. Louis. Those are the 3 biggest games on the schedule. Arizona State and Stanford, they should beat, but neither one of those are really going to raise the caliber of their resume. All right.
Yeah, they don't have that high major marquee win that everybody's going to remember.
They didn't schedule as good as they could have. But again, nobody wants to play him. So let's move on. Yeah. Next team up is Seattle, the Red Hawks. Last season, they finished 23-14, 11-9 in conference. Chris Victor has been Seattle's head coach for 3 seasons, and Seattle has had a top 4 defense in all 3 years he's been there. They returned a duo of wings in Paris Dawson, played 23 and a half minutes last season. 5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists per game. John Christophilus is a 6'3" redshirt junior, played 30 minutes, 12.5 points, 2.5 boards, shot 40% from deep. Kobe Williamson also returns in the front court, a 6'8" senior, played 24 minutes last season, averaged 9 points, 5.5 boards, shot at 45% from the field. They have a couple of transfers that are going to come in and make a little bit of an impact. Malik Arlington is a 6'3" junior, 37 minutes per game last season at Idaho State, 12 points per game, 3.5 boards, 5 assists, 2.5 steals per game. Matthew Alexander Moncrief transfers in from Georgia. He's a graduate senior, 6'8" forward who only played 8.5 minutes last season. So he's a little bit of a gamble there. And then Braden Maldonado is a D2 transfer from Metro State, 33 minutes a game, 17 points, 4 boards, 2.5 assists, almost 2 steals per game, shot at 34.5% from deep, 45% from the field. He's a 6-foot guard. Mac, the roster is not the sexiest, but once again, Victor's teams usually play really good defense in the WAC, and I think it's good enough. The pieces are good enough offensively. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you, man. This is a program that's kind of, honestly, dude, turned into you blindly back Chris Victor. I mean, 3 straight 20-win seasons. He comes from that Eastern Washington tree that just seems to overachieve year in and year out. So he's just from that tree. They won the CBI last year. They finished in the top 4 all 3 years. Yeah, they don't have the most production coming back. They're not the sexiest team, but they got an identity. They're good defensively. I have them in my top 3 still. I mean, I think I'm just going to trust Victor here, man. I think he's a good coach, and they have a good identity, and they have a good home court, like you alluded to, at the Crack House.
Yeah, I remember that, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's good.
Who knows what the fuck they're doing out in Seattle? Well, yeah, it works.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, Grand Canyon, I think, runs away with this league. We forgot to mention it, but like largest separation from one team from the rest of the pack via KenPom this season is Grand Canyon compared to the rest of the WAC. He has this team winning the conference by 4 games, and that's kind of how I see it this season. And Seattle's going to be in the standings behind Grand Canyon, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a gap. With Seattle, maybe one other team, and then Grand Canyon is above them. Next up is
Noah, also to note, not only 4 games, they're double digits better than everybody on a neutral court.
Insane.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Them and McNeese are so much better than the rest of their leagues.
Yep.
We need a Grand Canyon McNeese game. Well, they failed us on that. That should be on the schedule.
It should be. You can go to Field of 68 on that one. They got McNeese, but they didn't get Grand Canyon into that event where all the teams aren't afraid to play anybody. Southern Utah is next up for us alphabetically here in the WAC. Last season, they were 10-21, 5-15 in conference. They finished 10th in the WAC. The Thunderbirds, they've relatively been feisty at home in conference play, but this season they do bring back Dominic Ford, who averaged 16 points per game, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal per game, shot at 35% from 3. He's a 6'5" senior wing, but they do lose 3 starters from last season in Braden Housley. He played 34.5 minutes last season, 11 points, 3.5 boards, 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. He transfers out. Prophet Johnson transfers out after playing 25.5 minutes, 8.5 points, 4 boards, 2 assists. Parsafala transfers out after playing 27.5 minutes, 13 points per game, 6 boards. Chaz Hutchinson, Hayden Ledbetter, Nestor Dykuk, and Harrison Reed also hit the transfer portal. Coming in from the transfer portal, Xavier Sykes, a 5'10" junior point guard from Moberly area, averaged 5 assists per game, 11 points per game, 2.5 boards. Tavi Jackson only played 8 minutes last season from Colorado State. He transfers in. JT Langston Jr. transfers in from Ryder, only played 13 minutes for the Bronx last year. D2 transfer from Washington Parkside, Jameer Simpson transfers in. Also, Robert Jeter the fourth. He comes in from Milwaukee Area Tech. Malik Lamon from Grambling State. Percy Miller from Louisville. Mac, I'm not too high on Southern Utah once again this season. I think the ceiling's quite low. But the front court's older with Jamari Sibley and Dominique Ford. But I think that's about it. Questionable depth at the D1 level. A lot of new faces on this roster. Mac, what are your thoughts?
I liked Rob Jeter for the most part as a head coach. I thought he did a good job of elevating Western Illinois, which has been a hard job, and getting that thing to 500 the last couple of years before heading over to Southern Utah. Milwaukee, I felt like he was always pretty solid as well. I think you mentioned it. I think the ceiling with this team is going to be middle of the pack in a very competitive top half of the league. I think they bring back 40% of their returning production. So I mean they're older. I'm interested to see what kind of identity this team takes on. You would think on the defensive end, but I need them to show it to me.
Before we get to the rest of the conference here in the WAC conference preview, the college basketball experience is brought to you by Rhythm, the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm will give you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Rhythm went 24-3 in their night one NBA props, and the college basketball model is right around the corner here with tip-off beginning on Monday. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. They're the best in the business and have been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts when you're looking to cash out. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. And we're home free here today on the college basketball experience, previewing every single team alphabetically in the Western Athletic Conference. Myself, Noah Bieniek, and Moneyline Mac, Ryan McIntyre, here doing it with you guys. Tarleton State is next up for us that we're going to talk about today. The Texans last season, 25-10 overall, 16-4 in the WAC, which was good for second place. And Billy Gillespie was in and out last year, health-wise, and they did that. Like, that was a really, really good season. So what I will say is, he's kind of have to piece the team back together. He loses basically everybody from last season. They return only 5% of their minutes. So we're just going to jump straight into the transfer portal, their incoming side of the transfer portal. Marty Silvera transfers in from D2 Southern Connecticut State. He played 32 minutes a game last season, 14.5 points, 5 boards, 6.5 assists, 2.5 steals, shot at 33% from 3. D'Antoine Grimes only played 8.5 minutes a game last season for Baylor. Freddie Hicks is a 6'5 senior guard who transfers in from Arkansas State. Played 25.5 minutes last season, 12 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists per game. Boo Boo Benjamin returns from last season, played 11 minutes alongside Izzy Miles, who returns, played 9 minutes. Chris Paca comes in from Indian Hills Junior College, 6.5 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, over a block per game. He's a 6'6 forward, though, so he's a little bit undersized here in the WAC. And he's probably going to play the 5 for Tarleton State this season. Ronnie Harrison is a 6'6 sophomore forward. from coming in from Navarro Junior College. 15 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, over an assist per game. And then everybody else is freshmen. Andy Sigaskar, Matt Cross, Kyton Bristow, Malik Archie, Jordan Mizell, Caleb Evans, Kareem Al-Ghazawi, Joseph Martinez, and Roy Maram, all incoming freshmen. Good Lord. Team is super, super young. Backcourt is full of transfers that I'm not sure what we're going to get from them. I forgot to mention Nick Cross coming in from Oregon State. He didn't play last season, though. So I don't know, Mac. How much do you trust Billy Gillespie to have this team competing this season?
A ton. I mean, Gillespie's just at this level. He's been so good over the years. Look, and I dove into his staff a little bit. He's got a bunch of guys that have been around and are veterans in this coaching industry. Mark Adamson, Luke Adams is on his staff as well. Zach Sedembre, who's a junior college coach through the ranks as well. And then Glenn Sipp, who was on Chris Beard's Texas Tech Final Four staff. So he's got a veteran staff. I trust Gillespie, man. He's going to figure out this team. He's won wherever he's gone. He's the one that built up Tarleton. I know Joseph took over last year, but Gillespie's the one that built it up from nothing, transitioned them from Division II to Division I. He was great at UTEP. He was great at A&M. The only place he was not good at was Kentucky for other reasons. But I think Gillespie will overachieve and get him in the middle. I know there's a lot of roster turnover. I'm going to blindly back Gillespie.
I think a step back is imminent.
Tarleton State second. So I think they're going to take a step back too, but I don't think they're going to be in the bottom like some people do.
No, I got them in the bottom half. Billy Gillespie is more known for his defense, but last year the offense excelled beyond my expectations. They finished the second best unit in the WAC and 116th nationally, but by far the most inexperienced youthful team here in the WAC via Bartorvik, and that replaces a lot of last year's production. Last year, defensively, Tarleton wasn't even that great. They finished 8th. And like I said, the offense, which Billy Gillespie is not really known for having like tremendous offenses at Tarleton State. Previously, at high majors, the offenses were better, but specifically at Tarleton State, they've relied on their defense. Last year was not that good. This year, they're really small. I do have this team in the bottom half of the WAC this year, Mac. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
In Billy Clyde, I trust, baby. It's good to see his health's good, man. I mean, he's been battling cancer multiple times, so good to see Gillespie healthy.
Yeah, we're going to battle on that because we're going to have quite a big difference between our two predictions on that team, I think. UT Arlington next. The Mavericks. Last year they were 20-14 overall, 13-7 in conference. They finished 3rd in the WAC. Last year, KT Turner, the head coach, had a really balanced team that finished as a top 3 offense and top 3 defense in the WAC last season, and they operated as at the fastest tempo in the league, 34th fastest tempo in the country. But the entire roster turned over, and he's back to square one. But Mac, he had a pretty impressive coaching performance in year 1. Again, just kind of rebuilding this thing by scratch for the second year in a row. Do you think he'll be able to repeat success?
That's a good question. I mean, you mentioned it, they were playing as well as anybody down the stretch. They finished 13-7 and get all the way to the title game before ultimately falling short to Grand Canyon. So I don't know if I'm just going to blindly buy in. I know on paper the transfers that they bring in are super talented, but I think a little bit of regression this year for KT Turner.
Okay. Let's go through the roster because it's an entire portal team. Like literally, I don't know why he wasn't able to retain a lot of the guys that he brought in, but they're all gone. The only returner is Brandon Talbot, who played 17.5 minutes last season. He did shoot 39% from 3, 5.5 points per game, 1.5 assists. He's a 6'5" senior guard, but I'm not sure they're expecting him to start. They do hit the transfer portal hard. Like I said, Brody Robinson, a 5'10" junior point guard, comes in from Garden City Community College. He was a 20th ranked junior college transfer portal get, 28.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, 8.5 assists a game. Darius Burford transfers in from Illinois State. He played 28.5 minutes last season, 13 points, 2.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, over a steal per game. He's a 6-foot grad senior. Deontay Smith is a 6'7" grad senior, played 34 minutes last season for Nicholls State, 16 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals per game, shot at 39.5% from 3. Rayshawn Seamster is a 6'7" junior forward, the 38th ranked junior college transfer portal recruit, 17.5 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists from Eastern Arizona Junior College. Lance Ware only played 10.5 minutes last season for Villanova. He's a 6'9" graduate senior looking for a big role before he's out of eligibility in college basketball. Jaden Wells is a D2 transfer from Central Oklahoma, played 33 minutes last season for them. He's a 6'1" grad senior guard, 21.5 points per game, 4 boards, 1.5 assists, 2 steals per game, shot at 34.5% from 3. And Troy Hupstead transfers in from Maryland Eastern Shore. He was a MEAC Defensive Player of the Year last season, averaged 13.5 points, 8.5 rebounds per game. He's a 6'7" senior forward that shot 33% from deep. JUCO recruit Jackson Ellingsworth from Midland Junior College, 14 points per game, 3 rebounds per game. Cameron Jackson comes in from Gulf Coast State. He's a 6'9" junior that put up 17 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. And then Tuscan Onuha did not play last season, but at Dodge City Junior Community College is where he's from. Like I said, an entire transfer portal team. A lot of these kids were studs from where they came from, taking a step up in division. I question literally kind of like how it will fit. There's a lot of talented guys offensively. I can't really project how well they're going to be defensively. The front court looks long. But other than that, I have to see these guys play in November and December to really kind of get a gauge. But I'm willing to put KT Turner and UT Arlington in the middle of the pack in the WAC this season. Matt, anything else that you want to add before we move on?
That's where I had him, Noah. It's just a lot of uncertainty with all these guys transferring in. I mean, he's got the track record. He's worked for Cal. He's worked for Porter Moser. He's worked for Rodney Terry, Chris Beard, Larry Brown, Greg Marshall. So he's worked for a lot of different guys. Can he repeat his first year success? Because it was a great first year, winning 20 games. But I'm a little suspicious here if he can do it again.
Okay. Utah Tech is the penultimate team here in the WAC conference preview. They were 11-20 overall, 7-13 in conference. They finished 9th last season. Dixie State did. Utah Tech, whatever you want to call them. But the Trailblazers under John Judkins, they do return 3 seniors in the backcourt. Noah Gonsalves, who played 35.5 minutes last season, 12.5 points, 3 boards, 1.5 assists, over a steal per game, shot at 38.5% from 3, 45.5% from the field. Beon Riley is a 6'6" senior wing, played 28.5 minutes last season, 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 41% from 3, 49.5% from the field. And Eunisa Chure is going to be taking a step up into the starting point guard role. He's a 5'10" senior guard, played 16.5 minutes last season, averaged 2.5 assists, 5 points, shot at 31.5% from 3-point range. Dallin Grant transfers in from Utah State. He did not play. He redshirted for the Aggies last season, actually coming back from a mission. He was a 3-star recruit, though. Sammy Howland didn't play last season. Hakeem Bird is a D2 transfer from Jefferson University. Played 32.5 minutes last season, 12 points, 3.5 assists, 2.5 rebounds, shot at 46.5% from 3. Justin Beaker comes in from San Francisco. He only played 6.5 minutes last season. Britton Barrett transfers in from Southern Idaho Junior Community College. Samuel Aribi, a senior 6'8", forward, transfers in from Washington. I'm not very high on Utah Tech. I do like the older backcourt, but that's about it. Mac, what are your thoughts on the Trailblazers this season?
I like the backcourt. I mean, Judkins has been there. He's been there 20 years. They were good Division II program, and they make the jump. They did make a little bit of a jump here this last year, Noah, from 12th place to 9th place. Can they get out of the basement? I mean, there's only 9 teams in it now, so they may end up finishing 9th again. I don't know. I like the backcourt. Maybe they can get out of the basement, just riding those veteran guards, but I think it's going to be another year of taking it on the chin a little bit for Dixie State. I don't know, man. They don't have the level of roster that some of these other teams in this WAC have that have just been recruiting at a higher level for a longer time.
Yeah, let's get into one of those that actually had a pretty down year last year, Utah Valley. The Wolverines went 16-16 overall, 11-9, tied for 4th in the WAC. According to Torvik, this is actually one of the most inexperienced rosters in the league, as a lot of these teams or a lot of these kids only enter their second year of college basketball. Once again, I kind of think they're going to finish right around where they were last season. They do return Tanner Toulson, a redshirt sophomore, played 28 minutes last season, 9.5 points per game, 4 boards. Ethan Potter played 18 minutes last year, 8 points per game, 4 boards. Travion Leonhardt comes back, but they return they lose 3 of the top 4 scorers from last year. Caleb Stone Carrawell, who put up 11.5 points per game. Drake Allen, who had 12 points per game. Travion Dorius, who put up 9.5 points per game. They also had Jaden McClanahan, who had 3 assists. He transferred out. Cache Fields, McCaden Adams, Nate Shamanga, Peter Amakasu, Kamani Dowdy, and Simon Akina all transfer out. Coming in from the transfer portal, Kylan Green's expected to be a point guard here. He had 5.5 assists last season for Daytona State, who was a really good junior college. 13.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds as well. That kid can stuff the stat sheet. He'll be interesting for Utah Valley this season. Carter Welling transfers in from UC Irvine. He's a 6'10 sophomore forward. They also bring in Dominic Nelson from Polk State Junior College, the 97th ranked junior college transfer portal get. 20 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists per game. Noah Tates comes in from Loyola Marymount. Corey Wells played 33 minutes last year for NAIA Xavier. Put up 12.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Hayden Welling transfers in from UC Irvine, brother of Carter. And Andre Johnson Jr. transfers in from UConn. He was a walk-on, and what's his name's brother. So, Mac, Utah Valley, one of the better programs in this league, but again, they're super young this year. I think 4th is probably the ceiling for this team this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Mark Pope got it going a little bit, gave it to Mark Madsen. Now Todd Phillips. I like Todd Phillips, man. He was with Mark Madsen for his 4 years at Utah Valley. He came over from Salt Lake Community College, where he won 78% of his games. I think he's the right guy. I mean, I like the guy. I love the little Utah fraternity with some of these schools: BYU, Utah State, Dixie State, Southern Utah Valley. It's hilarious. Just ask Rush; he'll tell you all about the whole Mormon culture with all these schools. But I think that they're going to be in the middle of the pack. Like you said, they got a really good home court advantage. They are young, but I kind of trust Phillips here in year 2 to take a little bit of a step, or kind of keep it more. I shouldn't say a step. Kind of keep it more.
Keep it afloat.
Steady. This is a steady program. I can't see the wheels falling off at Utah Valley and falling into the bottom 3 or anything. So middle of the pack for me, like the culture here.
You know what I see this more as? I am going to predict that this goes a little bit like Brett Tanner at Abilene Christian. Year 1 was kind of steady. What was left over from Mark Madsen, really good defense once again, top 100 nationally. but Brett Tanner hasn't really been that great years 2 and 3. This is a really, really young team. I don't think the expectations should be high on Utah Valley this year. I've got them more in the middle of the pack in the WAC. Let's get to those predictions of our standings 1 through 9 here, and then we're also going to predict the conference tournament winner, our sleepers, and busts compared to the media poll. Mac, I'll let you begin with your 9th place predicted team here in the WAC.
Damn it, Dixie State. I got you finishing 9th.
Ooh. Okay, I'm a little bit higher on the Trailblazers than you. I have Southern Utah 9th.
I got Southern Utah at 8. I got the Utahs bringing up the caboose.
Tarleton State 8th.
Ooh, all right. At 7, Arlington.
That's
I have
a big
Arlington
step back.
Yeah, that's I predict the second-year slump for Arlington.
All right. I have Utah Tech 7th.
Okay. I have Abilene Christian at 6, steady.
I have Abilene Christian 6th too.
Okay. I got Utah Valley at 5.
Utah Valley's 5th for me as well.
At number 4, I think this is where I'm going to go Cal Baptist.
You are out of your mind for not saying Tarleton yet.
Oh, you're shitting on Billy Gillespie. Don't sleep on Billy Clyde, baby.
I've got UT Arlington 4th.
Okay. I have Tarleton at 3.
Cal Baptist 3rd.
Okay. And then I got Seattle at 2. And then, of course, unanimous number 1. They may run the table. Grand Canyon. Now, they won't run the table, but they'll go like 18.
There's too many good home environments for them to fall into a trap at. Yep. So, yeah, I got Seattle 2, Grand Canyon 1. Grand Canyon tournament winner as well for you?
Yeah, because the tournament's out in Vegas? They're not going to lose. They're not going to lose.
Yeah, I don't think that they lose either. My sleeper is I don't have one. I'm gonna go Seattle. Yeah, you're high on Tarleton.
Do you know the preseason poll?
Yes, sorry. The WAC media poll. Grand Canyon 1st, UT Arlington 2nd, Seattle 3rd, Cal Baptist 4th, Utah Valley 5th, Tarleton 6th, Abilene 7th, Utah Tech 8th, Southern Utah 9th.
So I basically had Tarleton and Arlington flip-flopping. I can't talk. Arlington, my bust. Tarleton, my sleeper. Grand Canyon sweeps it. See everybody in March. At the end.
Seattle, my sleeper by default. They were picked 3rd. I think they're going to be game or 2 better than. Yeah, I think they're going to be a game or 2 better than 3rd place in this game in this conference. And then my bust is Tarleton. They're really young this year. I don't think they should. Them in Utah Valley, but I have Utah Valley kind of staying afloat, reasonable-ish. But Tarleton, I thought the offense overachieved last year, so they fall a little bit harder for me. That's going to wrap up. By the way, Jeff Sharp says my sleeper is pickle vodka.
Like it.
So that's going to wrap up the WAC conference preview. We'll be here shortly after this one for the A10 preview to wrap up all of our conference previews this preseason here on the College Basketball Experience. If you're looking to follow Moneyline Mac on Twitter, you can do so at Moneyline_Mac for Ryan McIntyre. If you're looking to follow myself, Noah Bieniek, you can do so on Twitter at NoahB77_. If you want to follow the show, you can do so at TC on SGPN. Once again, drop a like, hit subscribe here on YouTube. Leave a like, rating, review, subscribe wherever you're listening on podcast platforms. This has been the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.